So last week, 5 different estate agents walked through my home to value it. That's 5 different opinions, 5 different strategies, and 5 very different energies. There's something very surreal about watching 5 different estate agents calculate all your memories into a price of a square foot. Put it this way, my heart felt as heavy as the for sale board did, and I didn't expect that at all. What did I expect? Well, what I didn't expect was how much this process would reveal my values. So hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, this is Health After 50 and my name is Sharon. We're going to jump straight into video 6 of the value series. 5 different estate agents, 5 different values, but one real heavy heart. Let's jump straight right in. So I thought I was prepared. I'd done all my research. I'd done all the telephone questioning before I even invited the estate agents into my home. I lined up 5 estate agents to come and value and appraise my home, but the only thing I hadn't prepared for in that entire process was how it was going to make me feel. So 5 professionals walked through my home. They all walked through the same house. They all walked through the same walls, the same rooms. They sat at my kitchen table where our life happens on a daily basis. And yet we had 5 different valuations, we had 5 different strategies and 5 different energies entirely. Whilst we had one estate agent focus solely around the highest price, the highest value, he focused heavily on prioritising and achieving the highest possible price. Second, prioritised totally on speed. The third focused totally around their branding and their presentation. The fourth one leaned in on market caution. And the last one focused totally around building trust and confidence as a team. He was all about relationship building between us and how we work together as a team. Once I'd gone through all of the process, meeting all of the agents, most of them stayed at least an hour, hour and a quarter, and by the time we do the tour of the property, what I didn't realise is I wasn't just choosing an estate agent, I was choosing what matters the most to me. Now, I mentioned it in the previous video that I had prepared a very simple table, and that was to collect all of the information from all the meetings to make it easier for me to analyse at the very end. I even put very small memorable details about maybe what the person was wearing or any particular phrase or saying to remind me of that person themselves. Now obviously once you go through, or once I went through my table, of course the one that gave me the highest valuation felt really flattering and exciting, because who doesn't want to get more money for their biggest asset that they own? But then of course the second, but then of course the efficiency of speed on selling the property is also really enticing, because it comes across as being extremely efficient. But then obviously the safest strategy is the one that feels the most comfortable, but which one felt in line with what's important to me. Now I've spoken in the past about my own personal values, and we can look at the security, being secure in my home, being comfortable in my home, loving my home, but versus the growth of me and wanting to move on, progress and work with those trying to achieve those things I don't currently have in my life. So that is my security versus my growth. Then sort of stroking the ego versus integrity, speed versus the care, and money, the value versus the relationships. It sat down and made me really question, am I making this decision from fear or from pride or from clarity? And this is where all values stop being a theory. Now, we are all faced with the 5 agents, moments in our life. And whether that is the career we move on to, the relationship that we leave and move on to, maybe the car that we want to buy, where there are multiple options, multiple strategies, multiple opinions, or just pressure to maximise, and the other one, the pressure of getting it wrong. What if I chose the wrong agent? So I think when you are overwhelmed in your decision making, or all the options that you're faced with, you can ask yourself 3 things. This is what I did. I asked myself, number 1, what feels right out of all those strategies, not what feels impressive. Number 2, if this decision went wrong, would I still respect my decision? And thirdly, am I choosing with what fits, what aligns, or anxiety? Maybe the heaviness wasn't about selling my home, but maybe it was about acknowledging that this chapter of my life is closing, and choosing how we leave that chapter really matters. One thing you'll notice, that values aren't really tried and tested when everything's going swimmingly well, or when everything is easy. They're always tested when the stakes are high, when something really meaningful is happening to you. Now, as I mentioned, 5 estate agents walked through my door. That's 5 valuations. That was 5 strategies. And 5 very, very confident decisions and opinions. But once we reviewed the table and we went through all of our questioning technique, it's amazing. Nothing really ended up being about the price. For me, it was all about the experience, the knowledge of period properties, and in particular the 16th century, and finally the relationship and trust, which felt really evident in our meeting. Now, I'll be honest with you, 4 really did bring their A game. There wasn't one total waste of time of an appointment. But that's what I felt and narrowed it down to in the end. Because when something meaningful is at stake, you discover very quickly whether you are choosing from self-importance, whether you're choosing from fear, or whether you're choosing from clarity. And here is what I realised at the very end, that values don't show up when you feel comfortable. They totally show up when you feel pressure, when they have competing voices, and when you could easily be swayed. Selling a house is practical, but leaving a chapter of your life, well, that's emotional. And how you navigate that tells you everything you need to know about your values. Because it's one thing when it's an internal decision, but it's another thing entirely when your values clash with somebody else. In the end, I chose the agent that aligned with me. They weren't just impressive. Once I'd gone all through that, then I let that one agent know that they had won the listing. But what I also did was this. I didn't dismiss the other 4's opinions and contributions to the meeting. Mostly, those other 4 all had extensive years in the game. 20 years, 30 years, 35 years. That is a lot of knowledge. Instead, what I did say is it would reflect on their opinions and their comments. We would take all of their opinions and all of their advice into consideration, and we really discuss them and see how we would align them within our overall strategy. And that's where it gets really interesting. Alignment isn't about shutting down other voices. It's about knowing them well enough to hear differently, hear different perspectives without losing your own footing. So next time we'll talk about when other people's values collide with yours, when someone else's priorities and strategies or beliefs don't match yours, and how to navigate that without becoming defensive or reactive, which we've all done at some point in our lives. I'll let you know exactly about how this agent takes on board all of those other pieces of information and strategies from other agents. Do we dismiss any of them? How do we include some of them? Does he agree with some of them? I'll let you know how that goes, because growth isn't about being right, but it's all about being steady. Thanks for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.